welder on, thrusters on. Okay. So one of my subs, Rats, who's been quite helpful with hints and tips and things I might try, gave me a hint about setting up the toolbars for the ships. And I've got the welder on the toolbar now, but when I tried it with the thrusters, strange things were happening. So I'll have another go at getting the thrusters on the toolbar off screen, off camera, but I didn't want to hold up the broadcast while I hold up the game while I got to grips with what was going wrong there. Just some derpage I've done, I'm sure. I've been thinking recently about how some of the best games on the market at the moment are indie games, like Space Engineers and Banished, which I've started playing recently. And it's really good. And there's one that I want to start playing soon called This War of Mine, which just really intrigues me. It's a survival game where you are a civilian just trying to get by in a war situation. The number of indie games that are doing really well at the moment, I don't think I've seen this sort of marketplace for years. During the 90s, you didn't get many indie games. It was so tricky to distribute software that the market was sort of dominated by the big names, and big names don't like taking too many risks, so you didn't get new software houses propping up and sort of two guys in their bedroom creating new games, which is how the games industry really started. When, or at least in the UK, I can't say that's the same everywhere else in the world, but in the UK in the 1980s, so many of the games were produced by kids in bedrooms. When the ZX Spectrum came out, I'd say it was easy to make games for, but I never made a game for a ZX Spectrum. I wouldn't know where to start with one. So, but easy enough that a lot of people were producing their own games, and there wasn't a big industry. There were no software houses producing games for computers. It was, apart from the computer manufacturers having a pop at it themselves to help their computers sell, it was just people, hobby coders making games, and thousands of games on the market. Probably a good proportion of them were pretty poor, but a good proportion of them were really good. And you could go down to your local market or record store or anywhere where you would find cheap goods, and you'd find tape cassettes on sale with games on that you'd never heard of, usually based around shooting things, or third-person shooters were quite common. But if it was an era during the 1980s, it was an era where if you had a good idea for a game and you wanted to try and make it and sell it, you could do it. It was, everything you needed was there. But by the 90s that became much more difficult, and I think particularly with consoles, as console gaming became more popular and PC gaming started to lose its edge a little bit, the consoles really had it with the technology. The graphics were amazing. In the mid-1990s I was in touch with a virtual reality company over a project, and at the time they were a little bit worried about their future because of how well developed consoles were becoming. They were saying about how they made virtual reality worlds for utilities companies or planning permission people and developers, so that if there was going to be a major development in an area, or if somebody wanted to build a new building, they would model it in a virtual reality world so that local residents or stakeholders could go and take a wander around, could go and take a virtual walk around the development and see how it was going to look. And the major task for them would be to develop the graphics. That was always the hardest bit for them, and yeah, they were quite worried about how well developed the graphics were becoming with the likes of the PlayStation. They saw it as being a real threat to their business, and sure enough, they're no longer in business now. Right, we're out of components there. So the PlayStation, I love the PlayStation. I've talked about this before. I was a big fan of the PlayStation 1 and particularly the PlayStation 2. I would have been a fan of the PlayStation 3 if ever I'd got round to getting myself one. Let's just see what components we need here. Turn off the welder before I land on it. So we need detector components, and that's all. What about this? Oh no, that's built. The flight seat just didn't look very built. Can we sit in it okay? Yeah, we can. Excellent. Okay, so we just need a few detector components. Cool. Right, I'll just go and get those making. We should be able to do it through here now. Alright, so that's detector components. Let's put them in. Let's put them here. And I think we only needed about 25. So might need to empty out my inventory a little. Yeah, cool. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, but indie games were difficult for... it was a difficult time, I think, for indie gamers during the 90s with the take-up of the consoles, because it wasn't as... you couldn't do an early access version of a game for a console. There we go. And I think maybe, though, it didn't seem to, the indie world didn't really seem to come back until the mobile phones started, like the App Store, the Apple App Store and stuff like that, where there became the opportunity for independent software producers to start making games again without having too much oversight or cost or risk, or too many people saying yes and no to the concept before they could even start it. So I just want to get this colour. There we go. Just get some more of the hull in place. And I've noticed, even though I'm not a brand follower of any description, I've always been a multi-platformer of every type, whether it's computers or consoles. I'll give anything a go. I'm not really a brand loyalty kind of person. And the same goes with, for me, and indie games. It's not that I particularly target indie games. It's just that I've noticed when I most enjoy gaming, the time when I feel that the market is really alive has been when indie gamers have been doing well. So, at least as far as my tastes are concerned, it's good to see when the indie market is thriving, because it means that there'll be more people turning out the kind of software that I like, the kind of games I like. And if one of the big software houses, like Ubisoft or Microsoft, if they bring out a game that I like, I'm more than happy to play their game too. I think another thing that's changed gaming for me, certainly the accessibility of gaming, was Steam. I didn't know what Steam was until somebody mentioned it to me, and I didn't want to admit that I didn't know what Steam was, because it was referenced. It was having a conversation with a guy about a computer, and I was talking about whether the particular spec was going to be able to play the games I wanted, and he mentioned something about Steam, and I thought, I think I vaguely heard of Steam somewhere before, and I didn't, so I kept quiet, and I went home and I googled Steam, and I thought, that sounds like the kind of, I should know more about this. So I went in and I was buying games on Steam, probably before the day was out. But it's made it so easy to get really good games. As easy as it was to get games from the iPhone, on my iPhone from the App Store, it's just as easy to get games now on my PC from the Steam store, and that's fantastic. I remember back in the 90s when there'd be a game that I'd be waiting for ages. Let's just do a bit of welding while I'm chatting. Yeah, I'd be waiting for ages for a game to come out. I remember this with Rome Total War. I'd been playing Rome Total War, and I'd seen advertised somewhere that Medieval Total War was coming out. Oh, and I wanted that game so bad. And yeah, I'm sure you know how it is as a gamer, where any time spent away from the PC or the console is time where you really could have been playing the game. So knowing that it was going to be launched on a certain day and having to sort of leave the house and go out and get it, because for whether you're at school or you're at work, there's only so many hours in the day that you've got for gaming, and I really don't want to have to spend those gaming hours shopping. That might be the end of our steel plates. Let's just check. Apart from the ones in my private in my personal inventory. My private industry. Yeah, we're out of steel plates. I'll need to go stock up the good with a bit more. Alright, well, I don't think there's anything other than the hull that needs welding now. Let's just check. I'm going to need to put a door on this somewhere so that I can actually get inside. Forgot about that. Shall we do that now? Where do I want the door? Probably as close as we can to the seat, which is actually on the floor. Yeah, maybe we should just do that. Right, I'll just do that and then we'll probably call it an end to this episode. Let's see, how big is a door? I've forgotten. It'll be under armour blocks, I think. No? A large block. Door. Let's search for door. There we go. So, if we wanted to put a door in here, how much space? Okay, so it's a single block, is that right? Okay, let's take out a block about here maybe. I've just remembered to check my inventory volume as well before I send things hurtling off into space again. What's it doing? We want it. Like that. So we'll be able to walk in and out there. We'll wiggle our way through the door as we always do, and then, yeah, the seat's just here. That'll do. This is what I don't like about the doors though. They're just tricky getting in and out of. Right, what does that need to weld up? Oh, lots of things. Okay. Where did I leave the good? Ah, there. Okay. Yeah, so new games would come out and you'd have to spend valuable gaming time going out to the shops and finding a shop, wandering around the stores. I mean, I'm lucky that I live in a big city, so if one store is sold out, then there's a chance that another store will have it. Yeah, but you're battling the crowds, and it's always on a weekend when the shops are at the busiest. And it might be that the game had been released midweek. I think I read somewhere that games tend to be released on a Tuesday. Can't remember why. But of course I'd never be able to get out to the shops on a Tuesday because I'd always be at work. it's only with this last job that I've done that I've worked in a city centre. I've always worked somewhere really inconvenient for having to go to the shops. And you don't want to take a day off work just to go and buy a game. You want to take the day off work for the day after you've bought the game. Cool. Well, we're nearly there now with this. I think I've been toying with the idea of with this propulsion chamber, because it's going to be near the back end of the ship and it shouldn't get too much damage. Whoa, that was a bit over enthusiastic. Yeah, I've been toying with the idea of putting some glass walls so that we can see inside the propulsion chamber, because this is going to be a sealed off area. Once we finish building it, it'll be closed off and we won't go in there unless we need to make repairs for something. And if we do need to go in there, we'd have to cut our way in. Although I suppose we could put a door in the back, couldn't we? Again, it's not going to be subject to any forces, or yeah, maybe we should do that. Right, let's I'll just park up the good, and then I think we'll call it an end to this episode. Right, see what I'm doing. So I don't know whether does everybody else feel the same about having to go to the shops to buy a new game? Or is it just me? Am I just bone idle? I just love the fact that I can log on to Steam and see something I like, and 2 minutes of downloading and that's it, I'm ready to play. I've bought so many games as well that have been on sale that I've some of them I haven't even got around to playing yet, but I will. And some games that I used to play that I used to love playing. Right, connector, lock, thrusters off, and the welder we can do on the front. Doing a hotbar, that's already off. Okay. Oops. Wrong one, that one. Right, let's just, before I forget.
Meteor storm inbound.
Let's plan to put a door here. That way. And the other thing that we can do now that we have a working flight seat up front, I can move this. Just watching my volume. There we go. Yeah, so these corner blocks, I will probably chamfer those so that we don't end up with a big square, but something a little bit more rounded. Rightio. Anyway, I can hear my alarm going off in the background telling me that I've been broadcasting for long enough and I need to split the stream now. I'll take somewhere safe, go sit somewhere safe, and let's have a look at how we're doing. One big square mining ship there. Right, well, we'll call it a day here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.